On today's episode of Wired Wild, we will go through a product that I use quite often called OpenSprinkler. Let's dive in.
So we're headed down here into the crawl space, and we'll take a look at my setup down here in the crawl space for a second. Alright, so the white box here you see in this clip, that is the OpenSprinkler module that I use. That has all of my zone wires all wired into it, and this is our main interface here for the system. Alright, well, we'll go back upstairs and take a look at the interface here and go from there. So first of all, what is OpenSprinkler? OpenSprinkler is an open source, web-based sprinkler irrigation controller. It's a drop-in replacement for conventional sprinkler controllers. OpenSprinkler has the following advantages over traditional and other sprinkler controllers. It has an intuitive user interface. It allows for remote access, smart control. OpenSprinkler can connect to the internet and use real-time weather data, including historic and forecast data, to automatically make water time adjustments. It not only stops watering when it rains, but it also scales water time up and down based on your local temperature and humidity. Now, you might be thinking that with the smart control like that, I'm off grid and I don't have access to the internet. Well, you don't necessarily have to utilize the smart control like that. You can add sensors to your system and allow the system to utilize your sensors to control the actual water usage versus having to have internet access. You do have connectivity options. You certainly do not have to connect it to the internet, like I said. You can either set it up for wireless or wired Ethernet. It does have both of those options. It is expandable. It has 8 zones on the main controller, expandable to 72 zones with OpenSprinkler expansion boards. If you have more than 72 zones, their app can manage multiple OpenSprinkler systems for limitless expansion. So this thing is really, really scalable, and for the cost, I think it's an amazing option for any size operation. There are also many advanced features with OpenSprinkler. You can hook up to an MQTT or utilize MQTT to send data through to other sources that use MQTT or Mosquito, that protocol. You can set up remote zones or HTTP zones. It allows for email notifications. Even it allows you to handle RF stations or radio frequency stations. It allows you to implement flow sensors. You can have 2 independent master stations, and it allows you to repeat program start times. There's multi-language support and a bunch of other different things. So, who is OpenSprinkler for? Well, it's for homeowners as well as business owners, including growers, farms, business parks, ranches, golf courses, and sprinkler service professionals. It's also for electronics enthusiasts like me who like to tinker and use OpenSprinkler as a platform for their own projects. Its applications include lawn and garden watering, plant irrigation, drip irrigation, hydroponics. It's a low cost and expandable. It can scale from a few zones for a modest house, like I said, up to 72 zones or even 200 using OSPI for large business installations like homeowner associations and such like that. Um, and their app lets you to access multiple open sprinklers together for unlimited coverage. So how many zones does it really support? Like I said, The main controller supports 8 zones, and each expander adds 16 zones. The latest firmware supports a maximum of 72 zones on OS 3X, and OS 2.3, and a maximum of 200 zones on OSPI. So, like I said, uh, the sky's the limit really with this stuff, guys. I really like OpenSprinkler. I do not utilize it probably to its fullest. I have not implemented any sensors yet on my system. I do plan on adding a water level sensor, or excuse me, a moisture sensor to a couple of my garden beds and stuff. But I do utilize a lot of their other features that we'll dive in here pretty quick. So yeah, you can see here, this is their website. You can see here that there's a lot of different things that um, this application does, or this product does. So now what I have here, guys, I have the OpenSprinkler OS version. I could have very easily gone to the OpenSprinkler Pi and done it all myself, but I chose in this case to utilize a built system. I didn't feel like messing around and trying to implement a solution that I had to fully do all on my own. I wanted some support, which thankfully I've needed very little with this. It is very straightforward. You can see by the prices on this stuff, guys. It's awesome. The OpenSprinkler OS is 150 bucks to start. You can see there that it does vary depending on what options you have. If you already have a Raspberry Pi and you want to do it all on your own, you can add it for 70 to 88 bucks. The expander boards there you see. I chose to run the 24 volt version of the OS. Let's see. If you go in here, I chose the OS 3.3 AC, excuse me, DC powered, and then I did add a power adapter, and then I also added a wired Ethernet module. Now I will say I haven't used my wired Ethernet module. I bought it just because I prefer to have everything wired versus wireless. It's much it's just much more reliable from that standpoint, from a technology point of view. Um, you don't have to be a tech genius to use this system either. I mean, it really does offer a lot of flexibility without having to know a whole lot about technology. Here I'll hop on my uh, onto my current setup here. So in making this episode, I started and recorded a whole bunch of footage, and then realized when I went through and was looking at all of the features to make sure I covered everything correctly that um, there is the ability to access this stuff remotely, and I had no idea. And come to find out, my version of the OS was actually new enough that I could support the latest firmware and have the ability to access this stuff remotely, which really is a game changer, folks. I don't know how many times you've been away from your farm or homestead and you wondered why or how things were going, and say you were out scouting for elk or deer, and you were 100 miles away from your place, um, and you happen to have enough service on your phone to make a few phone calls, and thought, well, I wonder if my sprinklers are running, or how things are going at the farm, and you had no way to do that without making a phone call and having somebody physically go over to your farm, and then lo and behold, there's something running and your farmhand doesn't know how to shut it off. Um, and so with this system, it's really nice because now you have the ability that if you configure it properly, You can actually access this stuff directly from your phone remotely anywhere you have a cellular connection. That truly does help out a lot. I do take advantage of uh, using their weather options. I'll jump in here and kind of show you this. So if I go in and edit my programs and say we look at um, my drip irrigation, for instance, you'll see here there's a number of different things that you can look at and check. First of and also guys, this interface, whether it's on a PC or on your phone, it looks identical. It's the same all the way around, which is also super nice. But anyway, back to this. So on my drip setup, you see I have my station enabled. I asked it to use weather adjustments, and we'll jump into that in a second. I set an enabled date range, which now is new with this firmware update, and I really kind of like this. So now I know for a fact, whether I'm here or not, that my irrigation is going to stop on 7:15, and it's going to start on May 25th, and that's just the last. I just use the last frost dates and set that way. Um, you can set your start time on this. You can utilize offsets to set it either an hour before sunrise, an hour after sunset, or an hour before sunset, a specific time if you'd like. There's a ton of flexibility with this system. You can also go in and set what program type you want, whether it's weekly, an interval, a single run, or monthly. Very straightforward. And then if you live in areas where you have water restrictions, you can even set it to follow those water restrictions and only water on even or odd days. You can set it to water any number of days of the week. You can set it to run any zones for pretty much any length of time that you want. Um, it's very straightforward. There it shows all my 8 zones. I only have 4 zones actually plumbed in my irrigation, and that's why you only see 4 there. I have things split off a little bit differently on each of those, mind you, but um, that this seems to accommodate what I have very well. Um, you can add it. You can also add additional times other than just this single run time. You can have it repeat however many different um, times you want during the day, and then you can also just, if you came in here and you want to see what it is, what the or how this program runs, you can actually click on Run Drip, and it'll run that zone right this second. Um, I started to talk about weather adjustments, and so if we go in here and go to Edit Options and go into Weather and Sensors. Well, first of all, I guess we'll go through each of these before we jump right into the weather. So on the system, it does show you can set your location based on your GPS, and you can uh, that that will determine what uh, the system uses for weather adjustments. You can adjust any app settings you'd like. So if you prefer metric readings or metric over imperial, you can certainly set it to metric. You can use the 24-hour time format. I mean, it's pretty straightforward there. Um, you can also configure. I don't have a master station configured. I just don't feel the need to have one with my current setup here at the house. But you can configure 2 different master stations if you need to for however you're watering, if it makes sense to. Um, and then as far as station handling goes, like I said, you can add up to 72 stations. I only have uh, the basic system just because that's all I need. You can also put in a built-in station delay. So like if you want to make sure that you don't have stations running uh, together or whatever, you can add a little bit of delay to let uh, to accommodate for whatever water usage you need to. And then if you look at the weather and sensor options here, you have, like I said, there's several different weather adjustments now. This used to be, there used to only be a couple, and now we have I use Zimmerman. I prefer Zimmerman. And if I go in here, I can show you what that means. So to set Zimmerman up properly, you set what your average temperature is for your irrigation season, which for us it's between 70 and 75 degrees all summer long. It does get hotter than that, well hotter than that, but this is all we're all talking about averages here, and 75 is about it's a fairly good number to stick with. And then this is what I want. The 100 it essentially says that um, whatever setting I set within the sprinkler, that's 100% water on. 75 degrees, 100% water on. What does that mean? You also set your rain, how much rain you would get per day in inches. So we get very little rain here. 0.15 inches of rain throughout the season is average on a daily average, and that's again 100% of what you would expect in this area. Our average humidity is only 40%. So that's what I set this to. Again, that's for this means for 100% of the watering. So like for example, if it's 75 degrees out, you would expect it to run 0.15 inches of rain on that station over the duration of time. I believe that's how what this means. I'm probably off on that slightly, but this seems to work pretty well. So you hit submit there on the weather adjustments. And then what it'll do is if we jump back and go to my my home screen. No. So I go back to my home screen here. You'll see that today, right this second, it's 69 degrees outside. It has the date and time, and the water level is at 65%, meaning based on the current weather conditions and the weather pattern we're in, it's only going to run 65% of whatever each station runtime is set for. So we'll go back into options. So that was weather and sensors. And then for as far as weather providers go, you used to not have nearly as many options. I'm running the Apple default setting right this second on this new firmware update. I may change it at some point and maybe operate off of Weather Underground. If you happen to have a weather station on your farm and you have it connected to Weather Underground, you could certainly have it use your weather station for inputs and weather data, which would let you take advantage of whatever microclimates you're in. And certainly down the road, if I have time and money available, I'll certainly uh, consider utilizing something like that. And maybe that'll be for another episode for Wired Wild. Drop a comment in the comments section if that's something you would like to see me try and do. Um, and then there's some weather-based restrictions. So like if, for example, the only option you have here is California restrictions. I'm not in the state of California, but let's just see. Prevents watering when selected restriction is met. So I assume this takes advantage of whatever information that California is putting out for their watering restrictions for the state, that it either stops or starts accordingly. That's something, like I said, that I'm not familiar with because I'm not in the state of California, thank goodness. Um, and then you can have two different sensors here. Currently, with this current iteration of their product, you can have rain, flow, or soil sensors or a program switch. I haven't gotten into any of this stuff yet, but I certainly am entertaining the idea of looking into that later. And then you can utilize some different integration options, guys. So like if if you wanted to Um, Back, guys. My headset cut out. I'm back again though, and we were going over integrations. I'm going to go over this briefly, and we'll talk about these things. I also noticed that when I was um, going through some of these options, that the drop-down menus don't show up. I'm utilizing OBS Studio to record this, and apparently in OBS it does not show those things. So if you didn't see certain things that I was talking about, that's the reason why. But like, let's just. So started talking about OTC. So OTC is their Open Things cloud protocol. That's how you put this thing online and set up remote access. I'm not going to dive into that here, but essentially you go in here to OTC and you get a token, and then you take it over to their Open Things portion of the OpenSprinkler website, which um, is right here. You have to set up an Open Things account separately, and then link that your OpenSprinkler system to their Open Things protocol. You could utilize, instead of, if you don't want to have your stations and stuff on their Open Things protocol, you could certainly use MQTT or Mosquito, the Mosquito protocol, to um, serve things directly to a Mosquito server internally, and then um, set up things through OpenHab, which is a product I'll discuss in a future episode. Um, and then you could also set up email notifications. I mean, the sky's the limit with this stuff. I don't want to bore you too much with this, but um, this system is pretty awesome. So enough of going over the options and stuff on this. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, um, but I just wanted to kind of give you a brief overview and dive into some of the basic settings on this today. If you found yourself into having any issues or questions on your current setup, or if you're entertaining the idea of using OpenSprinkler, drop me a comment in the comment sections of this video, and I would be happy to answer them the best I can, or at least direct you to where you can find the answers you need for whatever issue you're having with your system. I'm a big fan of OpenSprinkler. I really like it. I've been using it now for about, I want to say, 6 years. It's fantastic. It hasn't let me down. Like I said, I use it all the time, and it's reliable. One thing I will mention is that it does also show you what, like, if you have a, say you have a zone running. Here, I'll turn on my backyard zone. It'll show you when the zone's on. It shows you that it's been turned on the bottom here, and then it also shows you that it's currently drawing 190 milliamps. Um, so, if you ever saw this on the bottom of your screen, when you log in here, it means you've got something running. Um, Super helpful. It's handy. It shows that you have connectivity to your valve. So like if you turn this on and you didn't see how much current was running here, it would mean you probably have a broken wire somewhere. So it's kind of something that's helpful to help with troubleshooting and stuff too. Um, Again, it's just a nice little neat little handy feature with OpenSprinkler. All right, well, enough on the interface. I will see you outside in the yard.
Alright, so I'm going to try and show you again here how instantaneous this thing works. So you can see, I'm going to say 5 minutes for the backyard, and submit. You can see the sprinklers come on. And we'll turn it off. Well, there you have it. That's OpenSprinkler in a nutshell. I really like the product, and I use it very often. I have for the last 6 years, like I'd said before. And anyhow, if you like this video and would like to see more content similar to it, definitely leave me a comment in the comment section. And also, if you want to see more Wired Wild content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Here at the Homestead, we appreciate every bit of support we can get. Do look for more future episodes of Wired Wild, and we'll dive into some other things other than homesteading here pretty quick. I want to cover some scouting, e-scouting tips and some things like that to get ready for the upcoming hunting season. And I look forward to sharing with you some tips that I find very helpful, that are very innovative and new to that realm as well. So definitely look for future clips on some e-scouting stuff for hunting related things, and then I'll come back and give you some updates on the homestead here pretty quick, and get into some other things like keeping pigeons and that sort of thing. But do leave a comment in the comments section if you appreciate this video, and like and subscribe. I certainly appreciate all the support we can get here, and your feedback definitely matters. Take care. Happy homesteading.